Hello, my name is Peter Lefroy and I'm the Project Director for the Dublin Array Offshore Wind Farm project. On behalf of all of the project team here at RWE and Sergas, I'd like to welcome you to this webinar. This may be your first time hearing about the proposed Dublin Array Offshore Wind Farm project, or you might have heard about the project the last time we went out to public consultation. As we promised at the time, we are back to update you on the project developments. The delivery of 7 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030 is a key action in Ireland's Climate Action Plan. We have had a very successful 2022, achieving a number of key project milestones. We were notified by the Minister for the Environment, Climate and Communications last October that we had been approved for a maritime area consent. This consent requires us to finalise our planning stage design and to submit it to An Bord Pleanála. EirGrid, the National Electricity Transmission System operator, has also advised us that our point of connection to the grid is at the existing Carrickmines substation. The connection of our project to the electricity network will be by underground cable to that substation. We are very excited about this project and believe that it can play a significant role in taking a proactive approach to climate action and decarbonising Ireland's electricity supply. We will have presentations on project overview, offshore and onshore infrastructure, environmental studies, community benefit fund, next steps, and how you can give your feedback and keep in touch. We invite you to ask questions during the presentations in the chat box, and our team will answer them at the end. If we run out of time and cannot get to your questions, we will respond to all of them by email in the coming days. The presentations will be made available to watch back on our website. We have launched this consultation campaign so that we can reflect your views in our project design as far as possible. However, this is not your only opportunity to comment and make your views known. I'd like to thank you once again for attending our presentation. Thank you, and I will now hand you over to our Senior Consents Manager, Paul Kelly.
Thanks, Peter. My name is Paul Kelly, and I'm the Senior Consents Manager for the Dublin Array project. Dublin Array is a very important project in the context of the need for climate action. It's accepted by everybody at this stage that climate change is having catastrophic consequences, and those consequences are happening now. They're happening in Europe, they're happening in Ireland, and we can see as we work our way up and down the coastline that coastal erosion is becoming quite a common feature. Unfortunately, with war in Europe and the catastrophic consequences for the population there, one of the secondary consequences is that it's undermining energy security and driving up energy costs. Irish legislation and government policy commits Ireland to a net zero future by 2050, with 51% reduction of greenhouse gases by 2030. And that 80% of our electricity will be from renewables by 2030. The most recent data from 2021 unfortunately indicates that our greenhouse gases continue to rise. Dublin has no significant renewable energy resource, whilst it's the region with the greatest electricity demand, with a future population growth of 400,000 expected by 2030. Climate action is needed now, and one of the key actions from the Government Climate Action Plan is the delivery of 7,000 megawatts of offshore wind. Dublin Array is climate action, decarbonising with local supply of green, clean electricity. One of the most frequent questions that we're asked here in the project office is, well, what is the timeline for the project? Well, the timeline historically has always been strongly influenced by a wide range of variables tied up in government policy and legislation. The government now has delivered a number of the core building blocks of relevant policy and the Maritime Area Planning Act, which now puts us on a clearer trajectory for project delivery. 2022 was a very significant year for the project. EirGrid, the National Electricity Transmission System operator, has confirmed to us that our point of connection for the clean green electricity that we will generate at Dublin Array will be at the existing Carrickmines 220 kV substation. And just last month, the Minister for the Environment, Climate and Communications issued us with our Maritime Area Consent. Early next year, we expect to have a new foreshore licence, which will allow us to undertake detailed surveys. And we will also participate in the state's offshore renewable electricity market auction. And before the end of the year, we also expect to be making our planning application to An Bord Pleanála. Once we come through the planning process, we would expect that our construction will commence in 2026, and that will mean that we could be generating electricity from this significant offshore project by 2028. As I said earlier, one of the key achievements from 2022 was that we were one of the first projects in the state ever to be awarded a Maritime Area Consent. The Maritime Area Consent is a new state consent which the state introduced under the Maritime Area Planning Act for the regulation of activities that occur offshore. This new consent will be enforced by the Maritime Agency Regulatory Authority, or MARA. Now, to achieve that consent, we had to make a detailed technical and financial submission to the Department of the Environment, Climate and Communications, setting out why RWE and Sergas were appropriate candidates to hold a Maritime Area Consent, that our project proposals for Dublin Array were consistent with the Climate Action Plan, the National Marine Planning Framework, and offshore renewable energy targets. In addition, in that submission, we had to demonstrate our comprehensive track record in the delivery of offshore wind farm projects internationally. We also had to provide sufficient financial information to demonstrate that we had the capacity to deliver this project. In addition, our submission characterized sustainability factors of our projects, including, for example, the use of recyclable blades, which we are among the first offshore projects to do in Europe. With the Maritime Area Consent, it is a consent to occupy the marine space for the permitted maritime usage, which is the construction of an offshore wind farm, for up to 45 years. However, as a holder of that consent, it puts obligations on us to achieve certain milestones in the project. We are required to apply to An Bord Pleanála for final planning permission for the project. We have an obligation to promote coexistence with other marine space users. We have to deliver a rehabilitation plan which sets out how we propose to restore the seabed to its natural state after the project is decommissioned. And we also have to pay significant levies to the state for the rights to be able to conduct the development and operational phase of the project. And at this stage, I'll pass over to my colleague, John. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Lowry, Engineering Manager for Dublin Array and RWE Offshore Renewables Ireland. The following information provides a high-level view of Dublin Array and a walkthrough of each primary element of the project and how we are progressing its design. Dublin Array is a proposed offshore wind farm off the coast of Dublin and Wicklow. The area under development is denoted here by the red line boundary and is approximately 10 kilometres off the coastline. The site comprises of an area around the naturally forming Kish and Bray sandbanks and is approximately 59 square kilometres. Dublin Array will consist of several primary elements which facilitates the generation of a renewable electricity via the wind turbine array, its export undersea and underground to the national transmission grid and on into our homes and businesses. Taking a look at each primary element, we'll start with the wind farm itself. In designing an offshore wind farm, there are numerous considerations to take account of. For example, the environment, natural habitats such as birds and sea life, and what we call physical constraints such as archaeological features, for example, shipwrecks, the seabed itself, its formation and ground conditions, and most importantly, the wind conditions, our primary source of clean, renewable energy. This all helps inform the optimum use of the resource available and design of the wind farm, while taking account of environmental and other factors. Over several years, the project team have commissioned many environmental surveys and assessments to inform our design. For example, in 2021, we concluded our geographical campaign, informing our foundation design, export and array cable routing and installation options, as well as receiving our latest wind data, which informs our turbine layout design and performance. Another primary consideration in designing the wind farm is turbine technology development, how this is changing over time and what technology will be available to the project within the project timeframe. This gives rise to consideration of a range of turbines available now and in the future. The trend of technology development is towards larger turbines over time, both in scale and energy output. This has many advantages from an efficiency perspective, as well as maximizing the potential of the wind resource available. Based on current projections and assessment, Dublin Array will consist of approximately a range of 39 to 50 turbines with a possible height of 270 to 320 metres. The energy output range will be in the order of 700 to 850 megawatts, enough energy to supply approximately 800,000 homes and businesses. Offshore substation platforms act as collector stations for turbine array circuits and conduit between the wind farm and the cable on to the shore. It will house the electrical equipment as well as protection, control and instrumentation systems. The current design allows for up to 2 offshore substation platforms. Similar to the wind farm array, the project team have commissioned many environmental and seabed surveys and assessments to inform the offshore cable design route. Based on this and onshore routing considerations, Shangana Cliffs has been identified as the preferred landing point, which I will discuss on the next slide. The landfall location at Shangana Cliffs, Shankill, will see 2 high voltage AC circuits connected into a transition joint bay, buried below the ground, which will be reinstated once complete. From here, the cables will be fully buried for the entire route from Shangana to Ballyogan substation and on to Carrickmines transmission station, the grid connection point. The onshore emerging preferred cable route length is approximately 8 kilometres long and routed primarily within the road network and entirely underground. The cables will be designed and constructed to meet the National Electricity System standards. During construction, appropriate noise and other environmental mitigations will be put in place to minimise impact. As the route identified is primarily through the road network, appropriate traffic management will be deployed to minimise disruption. Trenchless construction technologies such as horizontal directional drilling will be utilised at key junctions and challenging crossing points. This will also aid in minimising disruption. To facilitate efficient construction, temporary construction compounds will be established at appropriate locations along the route. Following completion of the cable installation, all roads, green spaces will be reinstated. The onshore substation is the link between the wind farm and the national electricity grid. The emerging preferred substation location is at Ballyogan, close to the existing Carrickmines substation. A new substation will be built, which will house all necessary electrical, protection, control, and telecommunications equipment required. This station will be connected via underground cables to the existing Carrickmines National Electricity Grid substation. The onshore substation will be designed and constructed to meet the National Electricity System standards. Thank you very much. And now I'll hand over to Jill.
Thank you, John. My name is Jill Moore. I'm the Offshore Consents Manager for the Dublin Array project. I'm going to talk about some of the detailed environmental studies that the project is undertaking, which includes surveys, consultation, and desk-based review of existing data and literature. These studies help us to understand the physical, biological, and human environment in the vicinity of our project site. We need this understanding in order to assess the potential effects that the development may have on the environment and to reduce these effects as far as possible through sensitive design. For example, we have recorded over 20 years of wind speed data and have recently recorded a further 12 months of wave and current data that it augments that collected in 2012. Whilst these data sets are essential to inform the design of our foundations and the layout of the wind farm, it has also been used in modelling and assessment of the possible effects of the construction of the wind farm, the presence of the wind farm infrastructure on the wave and tidal regime, and effects on sediment movement. The work we have undertaken confirms that there will be no significant change to sediment movement, either on the Kish and Bray banks or at the coastline. Very small and localised changes to wave and tidal currents are predicted within the wind farm turbine array, but these are so small and there will be no effect on the integrity of the sandbank or the coastline. Our survey data also adds to the body of knowledge, not only of the physical and ecological environment of the area, but also of human activity. Our 2021 geophysical survey mapped the seabed, providing information on the seabed types and the location and profile of bed forms such as sand waves. This information is important for our engineering design, and when compared to earlier surveys, provides information on how the seabed is changing over time. The survey also identified 6 new features which are potential shipwrecks and confirmed the position of known wrecks, returning some really beautiful images. The one shown here is the wreck of the sailing vessel Gludonkey, which struck the Kish Bank on the 1st of January 1869 on her maiden voyage from Glasgow to Bombay. A report detailing the subtidal and intertidal archaeological surveys, including the new finds, has been provided to the Department of Housing and the Government and Heritage. We have also undertaken surveys to characterise the seabed habitats and the fauna which the habitats support. Analysis of seabed samples also includes particle size analysis. The particle size is an important factor, influencing the distance that disturbed sediments will travel when suspended in a water column. Larger sediments will drop out more quickly as than finer sediments, obviously because they're heavier. Finer sediments also more readily bind contaminants as they are larger surface area to volume ratio. The chemical analysis undertaken across the site confirms that levels of sediment-bound contaminants are low across the area. Areas of cobble and boulders in the nearshore section of the offshore cable corridor between Killiney and Bray may indicate the presence of stony reef. The intertidal survey in this area also recorded the presence of potential reef habitats. Stony reef are important ecologically as they provide increasing seabed complexity and suitable habitat for organisms that would not otherwise occur in this area, thus enhancing the biological diversity. The cable installation will avoid direct impacts on this habitat, either by cable routing to avoid it or by drilling beneath it to bring the cables to shore. We've also recently collected a further 2 years of marine bird data, which adds to the information previously collected for the project, as well as a whole range of third-party data sets. The data tells us which birds are present in the area at different times of year, their number, distribution, and whether the birds are on the water or in flight, that is, how they're using the area, and if the latter, how high they are flying. Razorbill amongst shearwater, as pictured here, were amongst the species most frequently recorded. Other species included gull, shag, terns, gannet, and guillemot. Monitoring data collected during the construction and operation of other wind farms is helpful to inform the assessment of potential effects on bird species. For example, amongst shearwater, auks, terns, and small gulls such as kittiwake show only a moderate sensitivity to disturbance from increased vessel activity, whilst gannet and larger gulls are not likely to be disturbed at all. One of the risks to birds from offshore wind farm development comes from potential collision with moving turbine blades. We are using the data we have collected alongside pooled data regarding flight heights for individual species to model the predicted number of collisions. Many seabirds fly close to the water, and the density of birds in flight decreases with altitude. Small increases in rotor height can therefore reduce the predicted collision significantly. Our recent design changes have included increasing the rotor height in our turbine design and reducing the number of turbines, both contributing to lowering collision risk. We have also completed surveys of marine mammal species and are undertaking model and assessment of potential effects during the construction, operation and decommissioning of the wind farm. We have committed to a range of mitigation measures to reduce the risk of injury and disturbance to these species, including routing of project vessels to avoid interaction with marine mammals, and we will commence noisy activities such as impact piling with a soft start, that is at levels that are not harmful to animals, and gradually ramp up the energy to encourage them to move away from the source of noise. Qualified marine mammal observers will be monitoring ahead of and during such activities to ensure that marine mammals are not close by. We have also committed to adopting at-source mitigation. Such techniques have been demonstrated to significantly reduce the sound levels that propagate into the marine environment. We've also looked at the marine uses of the area. Marine users include commercial cargo vessels and passenger ferries, as well as fishing vessels and recreational craft. To supplement data from automatic identification system, a tracking system carried by all medium to large vessels, to provide us with a detailed picture of all vessel activity, including small and non-AIS craft, we have undertaken a number of visual, observation and radar surveys over a period of years. The shallow waters of the Kish and Bray banks are largely avoided by larger vessels, which is a key factor in the selection of the banks as possible site for a wind farm. Smaller vessels, including those engaged in fishing and recreational activity, such as diving, sailing and rowing, do navigate the banks and will be able to continue to do so once the wind farm is operational. We have also consulted with a range of marine stakeholders, including commercial shipping and port operators, commercial fishermen, recreational groups, regulatory bodies and safety organisations. We have used the feedback received to undertake a marine navigation risk assessment, which has confirmed that displacement of vessels from their current routes will be minimal. We have committed to a number of safety measures, including routing of project vessels to avoid an area where sea room inshore the wind farm is already constrained by natural features, carriage of AIS by project vessels, lighting, marking and charting of the wind farm, and continued engagement with commercial fishermen and recreational groups, as well as the principal ports and government bodies with responsibility for marine safety search and rescue operations. There are approximately 40 potting vessels in the area which target whelk and a smaller number targeting a mixture of whelk, brown crab and lobster. There are also some activity from scallop dredgers dependent upon the abundance of scallop in the area at any one time. We will continue to work with local fishermen to ensure we minimise disruption and can promote the coexistence of the two industries as we go into construction and operation of the wind farm. The results of our assessment across an extensive range of topics were presented in the Environmental Impact Assessment Report, which will be submitted later this year as part of our development consent application. Thank you very much for your time.
Hi, my name is Emma Gillese and I'm the Community Liaison Officer for Dublin Array. I'm going to talk about the Dublin Array Community Benefit Fund. Another benefit to having Dublin Array located in your area is the opportunity to avail of our Community Benefit Fund. It is a multi-million euro fund per year, the specific value of which will depend on the final size of the project that will be distributed to a wide range of local projects and initiatives. The fund will begin operating once construction of Dublin Array is underway. This month, the Department of Environment, Climate and Communications set out how the Community Benefit Fund will be administered for offshore wind development in Ireland. As part of this, an independent Community Benefit Fund Committee and Fund Administrator will work with local community representatives to deliver relevant social and sustainable projects. RWE has over 25 years' experience supporting communities through community benefit funds. In 2021, wind farms operated by RWE in UK and Ireland invested over 4.8 million euros in local projects and initiatives. Examples include charities like the Royal National Lifeboat Institution, which saves countless lives at sea. The Old Engine Shed in North Wales received £100,000 to improve local business opportunities by renovating an old disused derelict goods shed, which provided a facility offering volunteering, enterprise, employment and learning opportunities. Another important project which RWE supports was the North Wales Women's Centre, which supports women suffering domestic abuse. £50,000 has helped to fund the salary costs of a support service worker for 2 years. We welcome your views and ideas on projects and initiatives that may benefit from our important Community Benefit Fund. Please provide your feedback through our online survey, which can be found on our virtual consultation room and on our website at dublinarray.com. Or you can also contact us via our callback facility online as shown in the image above on our website. Thank you very much.